Hey Eugenia, it's Dustin. So today's video, I was actually thinking of doing an anxiety help part 3. So I know it's been, oh boy, it's probably been 3 years or something since I made anxiety help part 1 and 2. So, I just wanted to make a third one. I have kind of a revised list. So, over the past few years, I have kind of had to have my list grow quite a bit since then. I actually go see a therapist. I just started doing that not too long ago. And they're really helpful because, I have anxiety problems and stuff. I've always had problems with like anxiety and stuff. And yeah, and what I've been in the past, many years with my nervous system, the anxiety is just harder to deal with when you're dealing with a body that is just not working optimally. The therapist has been very helpful and helping with various things, including anxiety. The first thing I actually want to talk to you about on this list, it's called the scope list. Let me get it. So, here it is. It's the scope list. Crisis, stabilization, and safety aid. So this list is, it's like if you're feeling like really anxious, like kind of panicky, or if you're like gonna have maybe an anxiety attack, because I do have like panicky anxiety attack kind of episodes sometimes if I'm like really overwhelmed. So these are kind of things that I do to help kind of start calming that down, so your brain doesn't kind of run away with you, because in the heat of the moment your brain can just kind of go nuts. Like if there's something you're worried about or whatever, your brain it starts thinking of all these scenarios and telling you all these stories and everything else. So this list and a few other things that I'm going to tell you about are kind of like the things that I do, that have helped me the most recently. So first, the first one on the list is slow down. So basically take 10 steps very slowly, noticing any sensations on the bottom of your feet. So I usually I'll slow down. Like when you're anxious, you kind of just are chaotically doing things, but that kind of makes the anxiety worse when you're kind of grasping at stuff and trying to multitask, I guess. So you basically want to just like mindfully stop and slow down, kind of get your bearings. And if you're standing, you can you can probably do it with socks on, but it's best with your socks off to just slowly just walk and just feel the bottom of your feet. Feel what it feels like when you're walking. So you just slowly take those 10 steps and you feel sensations on the bottom of your feet. Feel how the carpet feels. Feel if there's anything under your feet. And by doing this, you're redirecting your mind. You're redirecting it into, your feet, because your brain can only take on so much at once. So if you start redirecting from the panic topic to like the bottom of your feet, slowly walking and feeling every sensation and just really taking it in and noticing how it feels like, it starts to negate that and starts to bring down the anxiety level slowly. So, and this list, you don't have to do all of them. this is like a list for whichever ones work the best for you. So you can like try certain things on it. You can try them all. It really doesn't matter. So that's number 1. Number 2 is C, connect to the body. So cross your arms and ankles and tuck your hands under your arms, lower head, and breathe. So basically you're like, here, let me put this down. So basically you're like doing this kind of thing, you know. It's like you can tuck your hands under your arms like this, and you can rock a little bit with your body, you know, or you can bounce your leg, you know, if that kind of helps, you know, the anxiety. The one that helps me the most is to ground myself. Feel your arms, you know. Feel chest, feel your legs, you know. Just kind of feel your skin like this. And this orients your brain back onto some sensation. I call it the sensory. You're like reconnecting with the different senses, you know, in your body. So it just feels good, and it helps calm you down because you're focusing on something else. Your brain is focusing on the feeling of how this stuff feels. You're grounding yourself in your body by, you know, feeling, you know. Because like when you're kind of panicked, you're not going to be thinking about any of that. All you can think about is the topic that is making you panic. But if you slow down and you start to ground yourself, feeling your body and your skin, or do the walking that I just showed you, feel the bottoms of your feet, that redirects your brain to your sensory. And if it's thinking about how things are feeling, you know, or listening or smelling, if you want to, you know, any of those sensory things. But the feeling one I think works the best. That works the best for me. So that's going to really, you know, start calming things down in the heat of the moment if things are really overwhelming. So yeah, and yeah, this next one I do a lot. So the next one is orient. So your orient is slowly looking around the room, noticing colors and shapes, and let your gaze rest on something pleasant or comforting, like a brief visual vacation. So basically, you're basically telling your brain to stop, and you're like looking at like my tree back here. So you're looking at the ornaments on the tree. You're looking at like Jack Skellington's head, and you're looking at his eyes. You know, you're looking at Zero, that ornament, or maybe my snow globe sitting over here. Maybe the shape of the credenza that the whole thing sits on. So you're getting your mind, once again, you're redirecting its attention to colors and shapes, and you're describing these things. So you start describing them, and your brain starts to get away from that anxious topic and gets redirected onto you trying to describe this stuff, you know. So yeah, that's really going to take precedence and take over from the anxiety, because your brain can only do so many things at once. Once it starts describing things, it's going to start getting less anxious, because you're making it focus on the description of things. It could be pictures on the wall, you know, anything. So just looking around your environment, you know, and just describing stuff, you know, tracing shapes with your eyes, stuff like that. So yeah, so that's a good one I always do. Sometimes I do two things at once. I'll like be feeling the body to ground. I'll look at the wall to, you know, trace something with my eyes and say like, oh yeah, look at that picture of that mountain and that pretty forest. Doesn't that look nice? You know, and you just start, you know, thinking of stuff like that. So kind of like guided imagery. You're just like if you're looking at a picture, you're just imagining something like you're taking a walk in a really pretty scenic place like Japanese garden or something. So yeah, you're just kind of doing a guided imagery, imagining something beautiful while you're looking at the picture, maybe tracing stuff. So yeah, that's number 3. And this next one, I don't do this one as much, but this one helps for a lot of people. This next one is number 4, that's pendulate. So in this one, you are going to notice a place of ease in the body and a place of tension. Slowly shift your attention between ease and tension. Ease and tension. So for me, that's kind of easy because I deal with a lot of muscle tightness problems. I have tons of muscle tightness problems around my head and neck and jaw, and I've had that for many years, and it's constant. I have it around my legs. But I'm sure pretty much anybody is going to have some kind of tension, usually like in their shoulders. If they've been stressed out, you can feel the tension, could be in your, your bicep or somewhere in your arm or your leg. So you're just going to want to bring your attention back and forth to, like, you just start thinking, oh, I can feel the tightness there. I can feel that. Just take in the tightness and just focus your mind on it. Feel the tightness. And then after maybe, 15, 20 seconds, shift to another place in your body that has no tightness. Like, oh, my fingers, nice and loose fingers. Then you're feeling the looseness of the fingers. And you're just really concentrating on the looseness and really taking it in. That feels good. So you're just feeling that, and then you can go back to the tightness again and go, oh, I feel the tightness, there it is, and then back to the looseness. And that will kind of jolt your brain to get on another track as well from the anxious topic you're kind of, getting panicky about. So that's another one. And this last one is one I do a lot, and you might do a lot too. Engage. So engage socially, connect with someone who can support you. So for me, I would call my mom or my dad on the phone, like if I'm really anxious about something. I know I've seen you in stream text your mom a lot, so maybe you would text your mom or something if you're anxious. So, yeah, that's always a good one, is to reach out. I kind of save that one for last, If I'm not calmed down by these other ones, I do the engage socially. So, and then I'll call my mom or my dad on the phone and tell them what's bothering me and kind of talk it out. So, talking it out, well, you probably know, because of my, all the messages I send you, Eugenia. I'm like a person that likes to talk about my feelings a lot, and yeah, I'm always talking about it and trying to get it out there and everything. So, so yeah, that one's an easy one for me. So yeah, and that always does make me feel better. It does, as long as I don't go overboard. If I talk too much about it, then you start making yourself feel a little worse. So that one, I'll talk about it like no more than 8 to 10 minutes, and then I'll change the subject. So kind of set yourself a time limit, I do, and maybe you would need longer to talk about it or less time, I don't know. But for me, 8 to 10 minutes is about right, talking it out. So yeah, and that really helps the anxiety. But yeah, so that's the scope sheet, which is good. I'll tell you a couple more. The one that is my go-to before I do anything is breathing. So if I'm triggered all of a sudden by something, I'll start to feel, tension or a rush of energy up the chest area. Maybe I'll feel it in my legs too, but it's usually right here, and it kind of goes up into the face and head if I'm real anxious. I could get some adrenaline shots, which are really tiring when your adrenals shoot that adrenaline out. The adrenaline is for fight or flight. Fight or flight, I don't know if you've heard that term, is for, like when humans were Neanderthals back in the day, 30,000 years ago, they needed fight or flight adrenaline to keep them safe, because the saber-toothed tiger could be lurking around the bend. So the fight or flight thing, that's just kind of a defense mechanism of your brain to keep you safe. But in this day and age, it can kind of create more problems. I don't know how much you deal with that, Eugenia. I know I deal with it quite often, kind of because what I've been going through for many years, it's just accentuated. I get triggered fight or flight real easily, and start to feel panicky. My adrenaline will go and stuff like that. And I immediately go to breathing. And this breathing exercise is very simple, but it's the most effective one I have ever felt. I know in a previous anxiety help video, I talked about belly breathing. That can be helpful, but this one is a million times better. It's basically you slowly breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 2 seconds, and then slowly breathe out for 6 seconds. And then you repeat it. Slowly breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 2 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds. And I do this over and over for like 5 or 6 minutes. And literally my anxiety usually gets cut in half. It's that effective. It does something with your the heart area. I don't want to go into too much detail, but your nervous system kind of reacts off of your heart. So if you can slow your heart down, your nervous system, and which is basically your anxiety, will calm down as well. So basically, I'll try and do it here. I guess I'll count on my fingers. So I'll start to breathe in for 5. Hold for 2. So that is what I do over and over for about 5 minutes or so, and it just helps tremendous. Slowly breathe in, counting up to 5 seconds in your mind, hold it for 2 seconds, and then let it slowly out for 6 seconds and repeat. 5 in, hold 2, out 6. 5 in, hold 2, out 6. So yeah, so that is like the number one thing that helps me like every time. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Eugenia. And yeah, I'm so glad that I found these. They're just like a lifesaver, Anxiety can just be so difficult. So yeah, and just a couple more. Exercise, that's one I have a hard time with because of my nervous system and my muscle function. I I'd love to just go out the door and take a fast walk. Years ago, that's what I would do to help me, but since that's harder for my body to do right now, I can't do it as much as I'd like. But for me, just going for a walk, just putting my jacket on, opening the door, and just walking. Like at your house, Eugenia, it looks like you have like a nice area in front of your house to walk in. Like your driveways kind of go in two directions, so it's like I would probably go out and just, walk up one of the driveways, turn around and come back, walk down the other driveway, turn around, come back, something like that. That really gets that anxious energy out by exercising and just kind of, walking fast. So that's one I'd love to do more. I know that would help me if I could. But yeah, the exercising is a great one if you can do it. That really just dissipates stuff because the anxiety is like energy. It just kind of sits. It just sits there and bubbles, for me anyway. So it just kind of feels like you want to get that energy out, getting that energy out. So that leads me to the next one. One of the ones I learned recently, and this is really helpful if you're kind of in my situation where you can't go and do a fast power walk, at any time. And that's like kind of shaking it out. And this I'm just talking about because this is how it helps me. Because when I'm anxious, I can feel it like an energy in my body, like it just wants to come out, like how you're like a feeling if you're antsy. I don't know if you get that, Eugenia, where you can't hold still. You're just kind of antsy and you just want to go, it's like shaking it out just kind of helps get the energy out if you're not going to go and do like a walk or something like that. So like I'll just go like that, and I can just kind of feel a bunch just kind of shake out. A bunch of that energy just kind of, it just kind of goes. It's kind of like a dog. When a dog is all wet and it comes out and it shakes it off, and you can see it does the things from side to side, and you can see all the water just fly off of it. It's like that. The water's the anxiety. And shaking it off is just kind of like shaking that nervous tension out. So that's what I just, like that. So that's another one that's, I think, helpful. So, and last but not least, I think I've mentioned this in the other videos. And I did mention it before with like a guided imagery. So, like beautiful places, like a Japanese garden. If you're close to your computer or a magazine or a book or something like that, that has like a beautiful natural scenic place. For me, I'm by my computer often, so I'll like pull up a picture of the forest, like walking through the forest. Like you can see some of the videos online, or you can just pull up a picture of like a beautiful forest area, mountainous area, a garden area, a beach. And you just kind of take it in and imagine you're there, imagine what you would do if you were there. Imagine, the whole adventure, the whole trip, and just kind of formulate a little bit of a story in your mind. I use my imagination a lot. It's a tool that I think a lot of people have gotten away from, unfortunately. Because your imagination, because people want like instant gratification looking at something right now, but using your imagination, it can really get your mind off of a negative track and into a whole nother realm, like a fantasy realm, I know you like fantasy stuff like Genshin and Kingdom Hearts. And, I love fantasy stuff too. So I'll pull up a picture of a forest. Imagine it's like Lord of the Rings, and I'm with, I don't know, Durin and Balin and just some of the other people in Lord of the Rings, maybe Frodo or something like that, and we're on an adventure, and we're doing this and that. And that imagination helps break that cycle, and that really does help. I'd say 6 times out of 10, it really does help bring the anxiety down. If I can get my imagination going into a nice imaginary world, like a fantasy world or something, or in a beautiful destination, or like Rivendell. I'd love Rivendell, That's the House of Elrond and the elves and the mountains by all the waterfalls. Like, I'd love to live there because it's so peaceful and beautiful. So yeah, just kind of taking yourself there, that kind of transports your body and soul to another beautiful realm that's not now full of anxiety. So it's good to do that too. That does help me a lot. So doing that guided imagery and imagining a story in a beautiful land. So yeah, Eugenia, that is Anxiety Help Part 3. So hope you enjoyed the video, Eugenia. And yeah, I really like doing these self-help videos. Maybe if I can think of some more topics, I'd like to maybe do some other self-help videos like this. So these are just things that I use and have used for years, or stuff that I just learned recently that are really helpful. So hopefully some of them will be helpful for you. That would be really awesome. So I'm not sure how much you deal with anxiety and stuff like that. I'm sure your job can get very stressful, and I'm so sorry that you have to deal with what you deal with at your job, Eugenie, with people. It's just really unfortunate that people have to act that way. So I know I would be anxious, being a public figure. So I'm sure you must deal with, anxiety or stuff like that with your job or other life things. So okay, Eugenia. Yeah, this is a longer video, but a lot of stuff to cover in the video. So anyway, I love you. Mwah. And sending you kisses, and I'm sending you hugs too. So okay, Eugenia, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you're having a good day or a good night, and I'll see you in my next video. Okay.